questions this week are focusing on the disciple, how a disciple can become the very best. So in your experience, in your view, what are the most important attributes to being a good disciple, please?
First, the person who wants to learn from another. So, the person who wants to learn is the student, and from whom he wants to learn shall be the master. Right? This is the understanding. For the student to be sincere is very important. Here, a sincere spiritual seeker, his one attitude should be want to know the truth, not compromising for anything else. When we want to know the truth, it's recommended that we go like a science for a scientific truth type, means which has an existence value, not simply magical, miraculous or make-believe things or like that. You should be able to experience. So the student shall pray to the divine, the one who has liberated himself and can lead me to liberation. Please bless me with such a master. At least that's what I used to pray as a youngster always. When I came to know about Adi Shankara, his teachings, Ramakrishna Paramahamsa and Ramana Maharishi, this was the prayer always I had. Please bless me with such a master who would have liberated himself and who can lead me to liberation. Then once we surrender totally to such a master. When we surrender, we shall have the reverence. Like Shri Krishna tells Arjuna, before death shall claim thee. This point every student must remember. Once in a life cycle opportunity before death happens to the physical body, to know that truth. Go to the knowers of such truth, he says, sitting at their lotus feet with all reverence, seeking their permission, ask such intelligent questions. That's the master gives you answer and teaches you with upadesha what you are supposed to do to achieve that truth. Then adopt such methods and practice that sadhana to yourself. Then finally you achieve that truth to yourself. He also says, do not imagine anything about that truth before you would have done sadhana. Then your mind will expect only such experiences and you may not go towards the truth. This you have to be careful. So these are some of the important points. And once the student treads the path, must not look back, must achieve. That's what we always were taught. Till the last breath of life, it is worthwhile to put in efforts. That should be the attitude for the student. And as I always teach, dedication, discipline, patience are the virtues that's important for a student. So these are some of the basic points. As today we go on discussing, more might come out. What a disciple should be, I have tried to tell.
Thank you, Babaji. In your book, The Path Supreme, you tell a story, there's a story in there about a disciple who found a realized master, and he asked that sage to tell him about the ultimate truth. And that master whispered something quite briefly in his ear. And the student felt that can't be it, it's too simple. And he went off, and for 5 years he kept on seeking. Then he found another realized master and asked him the same question. And that master whispered the same thing to him. And then he realized that it was the same thing. What's the meaning of that story?
That's what the first question's answer. Before you undertake the sadhana and experience the truth to yourself, do not imagine anything about the truth. The truth is actually can be so simple, and we have made it so complicated. Say, for example, here for all of you, I will openly tell there is no secret. All that is, you have to become quiet mentally to become aware of that truth. It is as simple as it is. Yet, you all know how complicated it is to make that mind quiet. So like that, like some people, to my master when he was traveling in America, they said, ki master, when you initiate people, you need to charge them some amount. Only then they will know the value. Otherwise, they will take it very casually. You always give freely, you talk freely. If you remember in one of the programs in England, when I spoke about more than 1 hour, then an Indian old man, he came and commented, hardly any guru speak like this transparently of the total truth for so long without charging anything. That too, I could enter your hall without paying anything, without buying any ticket. I just came in and I could listen. This is such wonderful truth you spoke. Why is that you don't charge? He was asking me. So my master said, when Lord Shankara appeared before me from the fruit and made me to sit for tapas, to do that tapas, when he initiated and gave the secret of the technique, he did not charge anything for that technique. So he used to tell, I know we have to run the ashram, money might be needed, but we will not charge, we will not impose it, we will not force anybody. So on their own volunteer wishes, when anybody gives anything, that is good enough for me, Swamiji used to tell, I will run my ashram. I don't have to become very rich unnecessarily. So like that, Swamiji refused to charge, particularly for this meditation. So that is what people misunderstand. They think if they are paying only, it is valuable. We tell the truth. You see, even today, here also, on this Zoom class, I'm sitting in my ashram wherever I am. When people gather 5 or 10 people, sometimes when they ask questions, we simply go on answering. The money doesn't come in between at all. Only if somebody expresses an interest, they want to contribute something. So that is helpful for the ashram, that is another thing. But for sake of imparting this knowledge. So this is what in Guru Gita also comes very beautifully. A master shall impart the knowledge without entering into any type of contract with the student. And the student, on her or his own wishes and capability, shall contribute a certain amount so that the master can sustain his life and the institution that he would have established. So that is the traditional teachings that were taught in ancient times. Otherwise, people start thinking, you see, when those two masters whispered in their ears freely, simply, quieten your mind, you become quiet, just like Ashtavakra told Janaka, King Janaka. Nothing else here. So for that, the master expected that the Janaka must give up his ego Otherwise, the imagination will be there. I am a general. I am a businessman. I am the royal prince. I am the king. That must go first. That's why he demanded, first you come down the throne. You are no more king. This kingdom is mine now. And now you follow. And once I command, then you must do that one. Doing is your job. I will command, give the command. If you don't do it, I am not responsible, he said. So Janaka was also right. Throughout the distance when they were walking, he discusses about the soul, mind, consciousness, all these things. Finally, the condition of Janaka was that by the time he would climb on the horse back, and by keeping the left leg and then put on the right leg, he must be able to achieve that samadhi. Is it possible for any master to give? So he asks, now you go on to the horse. So he tries to climb onto the horse. Before he keeps the right leg on the other side of the horseback, so he said, quiet. That was all the order he gave. The student was ripe. He understood and he became quiet. He stopped. He didn't go further to keep his leg onto the horseback also. And mentally also he became quiet. His eyes, his body, everything became quiet. That stage a student must reach when the master gives command. Like the commander in the army tells you shoot. The shooter doesn't think where I should shoot, why I should shoot. He just shoots. That must have that type of dedication. Swamiji used to tell every day, like a commander, I give command when I initiate people. I tell them sitting in any comfortable posture, they follow that. Then I ask them close your eyes, they follow that. Then further they delay. I tell them concentrate your mind and sight in between eyebrows and just keep watching there by focusing the attention. Very often, almost all doesn't follow that. If they did it, they would have achieved samadhi. The Swamiji used to tell ki Jangama sage told me this, close your eyes and keep watching. I went on watching and samadhi came. As simple as it was. So we have made it complicated. It can take 12 years, 25 years, 30 years, you never know. Even after 40 years, nothing has happened. Don't have to repeat anything. Just keep quiet, watching. And don't imagine anything. These things, to understand this command itself, you need to practice and training. A soldier is trained before receiving the command of the master on the war zone or war field, So that's what he should know what he is supposed to do also. The master says, Bhai, don't imagine anything. Hardly anybody tries to understand that point. You should not imagine, because if you imagine, the thoughts are there, the visions are there, and then further you imagine about those thoughts and visions, you are increasing them. You imagine, you are increasing them. So this has to be stopped. So when one understands this, so that is the student, a disciple. He becomes eligible to be called a disciple because he is ready to obey the master's orders, to take the command and do it like that.
Thank you. So you mentioned Ashtavakra and King Janaka, his student. And I think in the past you've said how Janaka was a very good student. He had the right attitude. And I think one of the words you often use about him, he was humble. He had humility, and his questions were asked with humility. So what was it about his questions that were humble, that were full of humility?
You see, it was not 100% humility. He was on the throne. As long as he was on the throne, he had the ego, I am the emperor. So, instead of going to a master with all reverence and humility, sitting at their lotus feet and begging for permission to ask a question, So he ordered his servants to spread the message with a condition. See, he was an emperor, that's why he gave a condition also. So, is there anyone who can make me to go to Samadhi, achieve self-realization? In that moment, just before I put my right leg onto the horse back, that is the condition. If they fail to do so, they shall be drowned in the water. You see, where was the humility? He was ordering like an emperor, king. He wanted the guru to obey the student, come and teach. Many people like recently also. So I was helping a boy, so a royal family boy, to overcome psychological things and problems, all these things, failures in life. But he drinks very much and he was abusive. Then I stopped. I blocked his number. His mother was furious that I blocked his number. I said, Babaji has become egoistic. Why he is not taking my son's calls? Where is the humility? They want me to help them, but they want to take a cane, threaten me and make me help them. Where is the help? Where is the humility? So the king actually didn't have any humility in the beginning. So that's why all other masters, they also didn't notice this. They came and whatever, they were scholars. Because they were scholars, they went on talking. They were not real masters. Then Ashtavakra came. He was a self-realized master. He knew this one. So that's when he puts 3 conditions. Before, when he entered the court also, because he was self-realized, he was fearless. In his court, all the ministers laugh at him because he had 8 deformation. So he was ruling. He couldn't walk properly also. It was funny watching him. So they all laughed. Then he, addressing the emperor, he tells, Your Majesty, I thought in your court you have learned people, but what I can see is all foolish and idiots sitting here, becoming ministers. So, gathered by these people, how can you expect to become self-realized? You will also become egoistic like them, isn't it? When other ministers thought now the king is going to punish, but at least that much learnedness was there for Janaka. He was becoming ripe, if not totally ripe. He was coming to that point. And he said, with all the patience, he said, why are you saying so? Why do you think that my ministers are not learned? He says, watching my body, they are laughing, thinking they are laughing at me. They don't know who I am. They cannot see me at all. But they are thinking they are seeing me. Is it not that they are idiots and foolish and ignorant people? And the king says, this boy is not an ordinary thing, he thinks. And he tells, why have you come to my court? He says, this is the reason I have come. So do you know what the conditions are? I know all the conditions. I also have some condition. Now you listen. If you're really interested to achieve that Samadhi self-realization, I have 3 conditions. First, you must come down the throne. Give the kingdom to me. I will be the emperor. And then you just follow me wherever I go, without any attendants. You become my attendant and just follow me. Then finally you will listen to my command and act upon like that. If you don't act upon, it's your failure. You will have to drown in the water. If you listen to my command, then you will have it. King understood now. So he was humbled like that. Ashtavakra was a real great master. This is all the master needs, not the money, not the kingdom. Apt attention from the student. If the student is serious, really seeker, then the master would feel like talking. Otherwise, the 10 people might end up simply gossiping and the master would be watching somewhere and the time would be gone. One day is over, you tick. Second day is over, you tick. The topic goes somewhere else. Amongst the 10, even if one person comes, he can spoil all the 10%'s temperament and drag them into unnecessary gossips. We have seen, even during Swamiji's time, we used to see, they all used to gather around his dais, keep standing and talking. They were all interested talking only politics. Nobody was interested in spirituality. Nobody hardly asked any such question, let alone sitting or understanding meditation. So simply time passed by. 33 years Swamiji was in the physical body and he dropped one day. They all dispersed, went to their worldly things back again. So that's what happens. So this is what is necessary. This is the Ashtavakra Janaka story. That's what we were discussing.
Thank you. So when Swamiji came to Dehradun, where you were based, I think you said you often didn't have questions for him. You didn't ask him many questions, but you learned from him. So how were you learning from Swamiji without asking questions?
One was because I had fallen in love, I just wanted to watch him. That also helped me to make my mind single pointed. So slowly, I simply wanted to watch him. There was no other distraction for the mind. Like that I practiced. And even when I was washing any utensils, I was downstairs doing anywhere, anything, dusting. When Swamiji went away also, my mind was totally engulfed with Swamiji. That was there all the time. So this was one thing. Another thing, always waited for a single word that Swamiji would utter any time. So I wouldn't put up any of my problem. Instead, I would wait what Swamiji wants to convey to me. Suddenly, some one word, one sentence, not long, elaborate explanations, nothing. All what I am talking elaborately today is all one word, one sentences that I heard from him. A thing about a faith, thing about this command, all these things he had spoken, one word. Today I am elaborately trying to explain to people in the hope that all of you sitting would pay some attention when I am talking like this. So that's what we try to do, that one. So that's what we did. When Swamiji came, I hardly had anything to convey because there was nothing else that I wanted. I used to get my food, shelter was here, the ashram, and little bit of cloth was always on the. So these three are the important basic needs for a human, right? We tell in Hindi, roti, kapada and makan, means the bread and clothing and shelter. So these were there in the ashram. So there was nothing else that I had to ask. Whatever came, the food was cooked, we used to cook. And whatever was there, we used to cook and eat. No complaint. We enjoyed, we were happy. So the rest was waiting for Swamiji to tell anything. Suddenly he would tell, we were all massaging. Suddenly he would tell something about faith. See, if you have faith in the name of the Master will have to bless you. Like that he would tell. So one sentence, suddenly we used to be going, so we would be walking in the balcony in the midnight. He would talk about the mind. We used to laugh. Until the mind doesn't become quiet, there is no masala in your head. Understand? And he would laugh like that. A big laugh. So he used to think, yeah, mind has to become more quiet. Until then, that awareness of the truth will not happen. So, who will quieten your mind? Sometimes he used to tell, you have to do it. I can give you a glass of milk, but you will have to drink. Swamiji used to tell like this. This was the example. But the usual example is you We can take the horse to the river, but it is the horse which has to drink the water. Swamiji would tell, I can give you a glass of milk, but it is you who has to drink. Idiot, like that he used to tell. Means Swamiji could give the Diksha, initiation, but it's the student who has to meditate, who has to become quiet mentally. A grace of the Master means generally people don't want to do anything, don't want to put effort, don't want to meditate, don't want to try to become quiet, don't want to watch. Expect the Master would touch and give us everything. These myths have been built up, you see. If in some mission, some gurus talk that guru touched and he had this one, and people also claim that somebody touched, we got self-realization. So like this, we learned from Swamiji 20 years of so many truths. That's plenty enough for me throughout my life. I can be talking those things. When the questions are asked, that comes spontaneously for me. That's ringing.
So nowadays, it's very difficult for people to come to India and to spend time with Babaji, and it's difficult for Babaji to travel to see the disciples around the world. How important is it to be physically at the lotus feet of the yogi?
You see, if it is possible to be closer to the physical body of the Master at the lotus feet of the Master, it's like a bonus. The Master is available. If you have any doubts, you can always ask a question. Readily it will simply come. Like tomorrow, when I drop my body, so whatever materials that you all have recorded, that is there. You can play that one. If suddenly some other question crops up in somebody's mind, what would have Babaji told for this question? Babaji is not there physically. He has gone. Only the recorded material is there. Whatever we have discussed, you have to listen to that and follow that quite in your mind. No extra questions. Like this, for example, a bonus is available. But however, circumstances, situations, nature always doesn't permit every human being to get their wishes fulfilled. You want to come to the Master, always the time is not possible. The Master wants to come to you all, always it's not possible. So that is one thing. But however, we should be thankful today technology is available, you see. Sitting in England, America, Australia, Malaysia, Singapore, different parts of India, they are all able to see me live. We call it live. Babaji is live, online, Zoom. You have a question, so they can send the question to you, and they are able to answer me talking to you all live on this Zoom. So if people are unable to participate in this Zoom also, it is their misfortune. That means either they are busy somewhere else, or they are not interested in these things, they have not noticed. One person was telling, also from the royal family, so you have all these music CDs and website also. I never knew about this. I said, it is there for last 10-15 years. If you don't know, what does it mean? Either you are busy somewhere else, you are totally preoccupied, or you are not interested to know what Babaji is doing in this world. If anybody, all those people who are interested, many people come after seeing me on YouTube, websites, Wikipedia, so and so, this, that, and they come, they write to me, emails keep coming. 30-40 emails keep coming every week. They start asking questions, they are unable to come and see me physically, but they ask their spiritual questions and they are happy. And through email only I initiate all them also. For many people I just write, these are the instructions. When you follow this, know that you are initiated. This is the command, follow this. So like that, they are all interested. When you are interested, there it is. If they are not interested, what to do? So like that. So this Zoom is there, one beautiful technology that's available. As much as possible, I am trying to give time through this Saturday class. We are regularly doing every Saturday. If I'm not traveling, if I'm at one place, I try to do it. So you have booked the Zoom, I think at least for 400 to 500 people can participate, right?
Yes, Babaji, up to 500, yes.
We have only 105 people. You see? So what to say the misfortune of the other 400? So that's what happens. So both has to go together. So we are available. Everybody should know that Babaji's body is becoming 68 now. For some more years that's available. If there is a genuine seeker, they need to utilize this. It's for you all to utilize the whatever way it's possible, either through the Zoom or physically. If you can come, keep praying. Something is possible. On WhatsApp also you can write. On emails you can write spiritual questions. All these things.
Thank you, Babaji. I remember you saying once, Swamiji would sometimes tell stories by way of teaching. And on one occasion you heard him start to tell a story and you thought, I've heard his story. He's told me this story many times before. And then you realized there was a reason why he would always repeat the same story. Can you say why we should always keep attention even if we've heard the same story many times?
You see, if you all have noticed, I might have answered the same type of questions many times. All the recorded materials, if you see, sometimes the same question we would have discussed many times also. Whenever such a question has come, we would have answered. Like that Swamiji, those were the days when technology was not available like this. I was available. For me, Swamiji was available physically. I was ready to take his command. And he was happy to talk to me. For others, he would talk only politics, I have seen. But he would talk to me. Many people even today wonder, okay, Swamiji never told all these things to us. Okay, you would never have asked or never have paid attention. So he told me. I was paying attention. I was waiting for that. I never talked any other topic, any other subject. That was not all the time. So that's why he told me like this. So he used to repeat so that that truth would penetrate the innermost layers of our mind. Must be ringing all the time. When we sit, like repeatedly when I talk, this is what you are supposed to do in meditation, this is what you are supposed to do, this is what you are supposed to do. When you just close the eyes, that must ring Babaji's voice. I am supposed to watch only. It is me who is not watching, and that's why mind is not becoming quiet. That must occur to every student and they become quiet. So that is the reason sometimes Master would have repeated a particular story also about faith, about all these things, dedication, about discipline, about patience. Many of these things he used to talk. So he would repeatedly talk, not one time, 100 times he would tell. Story of Hanuman and Rama's war also he would tell. So many times he would simply tell. That was reason that it should penetrate our inner layers. We should never forget in my wildest dream also. Other than that, nothing else should come to me. He took care, he groomed up us like that.
So we should pay with attention at all times. Every time you say anything, we should always be fully alert.
Yeah, I have seen here sometimes some devotees tell, I know everything what Babaji has to tell. I have heard so many times. So they have not heard anything and they don't know anything. As many times as you get a chance to listen, it's an opportunity, it's a bonus. You should not waste. You should listen to that one. That will sit inside the mind. That's important. It's a precious teaching. You see, one should never, that's what Swamiji used to tell, never stop the learning process. As many times as you can learn the truth, learn it.